Welcome back, everyone. This is GTA Failure. Go ahead and strap in for the long haul here because this video is all about Paramedic. Ugh. A lot of folks think that Paramedic is the hardest mission in GTA 3. I am one of those folks. I think that Paramedic is broken in a lot of ways in this game. But after I show you a few different ways to fail this mission, I'm going to give you all of the techniques that you need in order to pass Paramedic. I think that I pass Paramedic maybe 19 times out of 20. I'll occasionally fail, but I'm guessing my success rate is better than 95% at this point. And I'm not using any glitches, I'm not using any cheats, I'm just applying techniques that were hard fought and earned on my part. And I'm going to share them with you in this video. First thing I'll say is that the main idea with Paramedic is that you pick up one patient on the first level and you bring them back to the hospital, and then you pick up two patients on the second level and bring them back to the hospital, three patients on the third level, all the way up to 12 patients on the 12th level. And one of the complications is that the capacity of the ambulance is only 3. And so beginning on level 4, you will be making multiple trips to the hospital. Now, there's a lot of ways to fail, including the patient getting killed. And I discovered that this particular patient has health insurance that my hospital doesn't accept. So that's the end of her. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead here, just showing you a few different fail states, and then I'll get into the details of what makes this thing tick. I'll say that so the fail state I'm demonstrating here is running out of time. So in about 12 seconds or so, we'll see what happens when we fail to pick up this patient in a timely fashion. And I'll say that there are lots of ways to fail Paramedic, and if you there you go. So somehow a sniper comes out and finds the patient that you didn't pick up on time. If you fail Paramedic at any point during the 12 levels for any of a number of reasons, then you have to start Paramedic over from the first level. So the next way that I'm going to demonstrate here to fail Paramedic is to get out of the ambulance. And you wouldn't do that on purpose, I don't think, but I'll pick up this patient and then I'll push the F key on my keyboard just to get out. And you don't have, a little bit of a cushion, like a window to get back in. Like you fail immediately, so do not accidentally push the get out button. One thing I never knew is that when you get out and there was a patient in there, they get out as well. And this poor guy is bleeding and he can barely stand up straight. Honestly, I think it'd be an act of humanity to sort of put him out of his misery. You're welcome. So as I was saying, if you don't complete all 12 levels in a row, if you fail at any point, then you got to start over at level 1, and that makes this a major bummer to complete. Here I'm trying to intentionally roll my ambulance, which is really not that hard to do. Look at that sick grind. So here, if I get out of the ambulance, I would fail for abandoning the ambulance. If you stay in the ambulance, you fail because you get wasted. The ambulance can catch on fire if you damage it too much. And here I'm illustrating that the paint spray will not repair the ambulance, which is a real bummer because the ambulance catching on fire is a very, very common way to fail because here I'm trying to intentionally catch the ambulance on fire. Also trying to kill the patient inside. You can see there's a patient in the back. So if you take enough hits with a patient on board, they die, but I have found that to be not really a concern at all. The ambulance will die well before the patient inside will die. The ambulance's health will go to 0 before the patient dies. So it's possible to kill the patient inside, but that really isn't a concern in my opinion. Okay, the main reward for completing all 12 levels of Paramedic consecutively is infinite sprint. And so even though I've been kind of sprinting a little bit here and there in this video series so far, I was just sort of cheesing it by tapping the sprint button, the shift key on my keyboard about once or twice a second. Here I intentionally got a wanted star, and I'll just show you, like getting busted fails the mission, like it fails every mission in this game. But it is a concern because you might get busted because as you're stopped, like waiting to pick up a patient. So do be careful that you don't run over too many people in a row, and you don't run over any police officers. And if you do happen to get in trouble at that wanted level, know where the nearest bribe star is. Okay, so strap in, no more kidding around, no more failing. I'm just going to show you my successful attempt at this. First thing I like to do is gently nuzzle my ambulance against the building on the right-hand side and then gently back into the hospital until I lose the 2 rear doors and also the passenger door. You'll see it. Oh, actually, I didn't lose the passenger door yet, so a little bit more nuzzling. And I use the word nuzzle because I don't think it's a good idea to smack into the building real hard. It might get rid of the door quicker than what I just did there, but it will also increase the damage your ambulance has taken dramatically. And we do need to keep this ambulance healthy and whole for 12 levels. So I go with the kind of gentle snuggle approach to get rid of the doors. Getting rid of the doors just makes it so that you save the, I don't know, 1 or 2 seconds it takes for the passenger to open the door and then get in, close the door. They can just hop right in immediately. Okay, so as I go through my process here on the screen, I'll first list for you the 7 different fail states. And then after I list the 7 fail states, I will explain to you what the countermeasure is to avoid each of these 7 fail states. Okay, so first fail state number 1 is canceling the mission. So in on my keyboard, that's the numlock key. Number 2, exiting the ambulance. Number 3, getting busted. Number 4, getting wasted. Number 5, the patient dies. Number 6, the ambulance is destroyed, and that's maybe the most common one. And number 7, time runs out. That's maybe the second most common or the first most common. But I would say that running out of time and or destroying your ambulance because it takes too much damage and catches on fire, or rolls and flips and you can't get it righted back on its wheels. I would say by far those are the 2 most common ways to fail paramedic. Okay, so here we go. How do you avoid each of these mission failures? So we start back with number 1, mission canceled. So just don't push the mission toggle key or button. It's as simple as that. Number 2 way to fail is to exit the ambulance. Don't accidentally push the exit button to get out of the vehicle. So on my keyboard, use WASD to move my ambulance forward, backwards, left, and right. And then the F key is the get out of vehicle button, which is right next to the D key, which I use to turn right. And so it could be very easy to accidentally push the get out of vehicle button depending on how your keyboard or controller is set up. Okay, and one other thing I'll point out is that, again, there's no grace period for getting into the ambulance. We will see a grace period when we do the vigilante missions coming up, but as soon as you get out, you fail instantly. And also, I'll say that you are welcome to use your sirens if you want to. I typically leave them off. I think they cause more harm than good. But do be careful that if you're going to use the siren button, that you know exactly which button it is, and that you push the siren button and not accidentally the get out of ambulance button or the cancel mission button. So for me, the siren button is the same as the horn button. It's shift. I guess right shift. Probably both of them work, but like I said, I rarely use the siren. Okay, next way to fail the mission, number 3, is getting busted. So as I mentioned, you want to try to avoid running over people, both for wanted level reasons. You don't want to get a wanted level to make this even harder because the police are after you, but also because running over each person damages your ambulance a little. It damages their body a lot, but that's not my main concern with this video. I want you to pass paramedic, and so keeping your ambulance healthy is important, and every time you squish a pedestrian, your ambulance gets damaged a little bit. Definitely want to avoid running over police officers if you can, because that is often a 2-star wanted level instantly. And if you do get 2 stars, then you want to immediately, so if you just get 1 star and then you behave yourself for like a minute, and don't commit any more crimes, then the 1 star will just disappear on its own. Not a big deal. But if you get 2 stars, then that wanted level will not disappear on its own. So the only bribe star that I really think about as I'm doing paramedic is the one that's in what I call the bribe star alley. It's a little bit east of where we are right now, kind of parallel to this road that we're on. I don't know if I'll have a chance to show it off, but anyway, just east of us is a major road that has 2 lanes going in each direction, and if you just take that road due south, there's a bunch of buildings, but there's a small little alley that you can find, and there's a bribe star right in the middle of that one. It's the same alley where I got stuck on, I constantly get stuck on the boxes. Those boxes are annoying. Those boxes get a 1 out of 10 in whatever rating system we're using for boxes. Okay, next, let's see, that was number 3. Okay, so the 4th way to fail this mission is to get wasted, and you are wasted if you stay inside of an ambulance that flips over onto its side or onto its roof. So the ambulance is quite top heavy, and it's really, really easy to flip it or roll it just by going too fast around a corner and taking a turn that's quite sharp, or by accidentally bumping into like a vehicle or into a building or into a light pole or into stairs, like the subway pillars. Like anything can easily send you careening out of control and result in you rolling or flipping the ambulance. So handbrake turns on almost anything. Like if I'm above, like 10 miles an hour, I'm using a handbrake turn every single turn in this ambulance. I've never flipped my ambulance, no matter how fast I've gone around a curve, as long as I've done a handbrake turn. And as I said, you want to try to drive carefully to minimize the damage that your ambulance gets, and to avoid clipping into cars and light poles and buildings, any of which can cause you to roll. But I'll also say, so I've read a lot of complaints about Paramedic in GTA 3, and they're justified. Trust me, I get it. This mission is just straight up broken, and maybe in the next video I'll explain all the ways that I think it's broken. But anyway, a lot of folks think that the ambulance has like hardly any health. I mean, I agree that it should have more health than it does. Maybe you should be able to repair it. But I'll say that the ambulance can take a pounding, and you've seen already, and you'll see in the rest of this video that I'm gonna accidentally run into plenty of cars and plenty of buildings, and a light pole here and there. I just squished a person. I just ran into a bobcat, squished another person. I'm not driving perfectly by any stretch of the imagination. Here's a little ramp. I take it pretty slow, just enough to get over the fence. Probably kind of dicey and shouldn't have done that. So the ambulance has some health. You can get into little accidents. I guess what I would say is that you want to really do your best to avoid high-speed head-on collisions. So like the accidents that I'm getting into hopefully are kind of glancing blows between my ambulance and another vehicle, or between my ambulance and a building or wall. So do what you can to avoid head-on high-speed collisions, because the ambulance can take damage and still survive through all 12 levels. I'm not sure. I've read different viewpoints about whether the ambulance kind of self-heals. Some people think that at the end of each level, the ambulance heals a little bit, just kind of programmed into the game, so that it makes it possible to, survive 12 levels of this in one ambulance. I've also read somebody say that the ambulance heals a little bit with each single patient dropped off. So maybe instead of dropping off a full boatload of 3 people, you drop them off one at a time. That doesn't sound like a good idea, in my opinion. And I don't know. I haven't found anything definitive as to whether or not the ambulance self-heals. So I tried to do some experiments off video and really couldn't figure it out. So if you happen to know, please do share in the comments. Does the ambulance self-heal? Okay, that was wasted. Number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, number 5. Next way for you to fail paramedic is to have the patient die. So what's the remedy to that? All right, so first of all, don't drive too close to the patients. Maybe like 10 feet away is a good distance. Hopefully I'm demonstrating, kind of good behavior here in this video in terms of how far away I am from the patients that I'm picking up. You could save a little bit of time by going real close to them, because that minimizes the walk that they have to do, and therefore takes less time for them to get to the ambulance. But if you cut that too close, these patients, all the pedestrians are quite fragile, and this ambulance is heavy, and it does not take a lot of speed for this ambulance to kill any pedestrian, including your patient. And so you'll see me stopping quite far away. It might seem like excessive how far away I'm stopping from these patients, but if you cut it too close, one wrong move, one skid in the rain, there you go, I'm about 10 feet away. One skid, and you got to start over with paramedic. And notice that, like on this pickup right here, I intentionally went way past. Like I didn't want this person getting their heart set on getting into the passenger seat, the front seat, and cutting in front of me, and then I can't stop because they're right in front of me and I just squished them. So I intentionally stayed far away, like 10 feet away from them, and got past them, so they had no choice but to hop into the closest door, which is the back door. Okay. Another thing to do to avoid killing any of your patients is, as soon as your patient starts moving towards the ambulance, keep your finger on the handbrake key or button. In my case, that's the space bar. And so I am not driving, I'm not moving my vehicle at all. As soon as they begin moving, I stop, because again, it's so easy to squish and kill one of your patients here. Also, when you have a patient getting in, especially in the rear door, maybe you want to make like a 3-point turn, like you pick them up and then you're about to make a 3-point turn to head back in the same direction you came from. Do not begin backing up until they are safely in the ambulance. You might think, oh gosh, I gotta back up right away. As soon as they touch the back door of the ambulance, I'm going to back up, and it's going to save me, 3 seconds. But don't do it. It's not worth it. Just don't back up until they are safely in the ambulance because you don't want to squish them as you back up. Okay, so I mentioned the sirens. I think that using the sirens can be okay because the other cars will try to get out of your way. But there's a major downside with using the sirens when you are close to one of your upcoming patients, and that's that sometimes the cars will so aggressively try to get out of your way if you have the sirens running that they will accidentally squish your patient, and that is quite counterproductive to completing paramedic. And so I rarely use the sirens and lights on the ambulance. Maybe if there's like a major blockage and I can't even like get around it, like I'll use the sirens for a few seconds just to get these fools to move out of my way. But I would caution you against using it if you're close to one of your patients. Just turn it off as you get closer to the patient so that none of the other vehicles heeds, your warning lights and sirens and accidentally squishes your upcoming patient. Okay, I think that's good. You'll notice that as soon as I get into a little bit out of control here, as soon as I get into the blue marker to drop off some patients, I immediately hit the gas. Like once I see them getting out, you don't need to wait there. I never back up into them. I just always am going forward once I drop the patients off. Um, but yeah, so like right up here, you'll see as soon as they begin getting out, I'm on to the next task. I don't even have to wait for them to get out, but I don't back up. I've never squished anybody going forwards as soon as I see them start to move to get out of the ambulance. Okay. I mentioned that patients can die in the ambulance, but that is just so rare that I don't even worry about it. As I mentioned, the ambulance dies well before any patient in my ambulance dies. It's quite rare for me to lose a patient in that way. Okay. All right. So that was number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fifth way to fail. So, way number 6 to fail, and now we're really getting into the nitty gritty here, is the ambulance getting destroyed. This is maybe the most common and a way to fail paramedic, and if it's not the most common, then it's got to be second most common. The fact is, the ambulance has a low health number. I don't know what the number is, but my goodness, I have failed this thing so many times before I, kind of got better at driving and understood some techniques that I'll share in this next few minutes. Failed so many times because my ambulance just took too much damage. Like I'm not talking like rolling it and having it stick on its side or on its roof. I'm just saying like over the course of 12 levels, I would just get into so many little accidents and fender benders and things, and the ambulance would catch on fire because the health went down to 0. So how do we avoid the ambulance getting destroyed? All right, so a couple of tips here. First of all, I cannot strongly recommend enough doing paramedic on Portland, not on Staunton, definitely not on Shoreside. I'll explain why I don't like either of those islands in coming videos. Why I don't like either of them for paramedic, but I would avoid both of those 2 islands like the plague when I'm doing paramedic. I think that it's best to do paramedic on this island for a few reasons. Number one, the destinations where the patients could be here are closer to the hospital than on the other islands, and so it just takes longer on the other islands. Like it consistently takes me right around 35, 36 minutes to do 12 levels of paramedic here on Portland Island. I've seen videos of people doing paramedic on Staunton, the second island, and on Shoreside, the third island. And in those cases, it took like an hour, like 58 minutes, sometimes like an hour 10, really like double the time almost from how fast you can do it here on Portland. And it's not just a time thing, like you don't have to be like playing this game to like set some speed record, but you need to make no serious mistakes for the entire 12 levels, because you could have, you could be on the last level of paramedic, the 12th level. You make one mistake, you clip a light pole that sends you careening into a car, and that rolls you, and you can't recover your ambulance, and you're done. And so if I have to like be not perfect, but no major mistakes for the entirety of paramedic, I'd rather that entirety take like 35 minutes instead of like an hour or an hour and change. It's just a lot easier to kind of stay concentrated and not have any like bad luck if you do paramedic here on Portland, because it's just straight up shorter by maybe a factor of a half. Okay, but it is not always safe to do paramedic here. This is kind of one of these awkward locations. Oh, I don't even know. I wasn't looking. I thought I was picking somebody up there, but I guess I just took that little shortcut. I typically wouldn't do that because you end up running over a lot of people, and you could get a wanted level as a result. Okay, so I'm just looking at my video here. I have no earthly idea what level we're up to. Still have a little bit more to say, more techniques here. Okay, it is not safe to do paramedic on Portland after one or both gangs on Portland get mad at you. And so the two gangs, spoilers here, that are going to get mad at us as we complete various story missions are the Triads in Chinatown and the Mafia over in St. Mark's. And if you try to do paramedic when one or both of those gangs is mad at you, then your ambulance is going to get shot up by the Triads every time you go through Chinatown, if the Triad gang is mad at you at that point. And your ambulance will get shot up by the Mafia every time you go through St. Mark's. This is the Bribe Star Alley I was talking about. So if the Mafia is mad at you when you do this, I don't know that it's possible to do it. Honestly, like I don't know if it's possible to do paramedic. Maybe this is a challenge. I should try to do paramedic late in the game after the Mafia and the Triads are mad at me. I'm gonna make a note. We'll see. I'm not committing to it. Paramedic after Triads and Mafia ticked. With a big fat question mark. Okay, don't know if it's possible, but maybe I'll see. The Mafia in particular have very powerful guns on the streets, and I think it takes like 2 shots of their gun. It might be shotguns that they carry. And so you imagine like picking up patients in St. Mark's and getting shot twice, and all of a sudden your ambulance goes from full health to 0 health. Okay, so how do you make sure that you do this thing early enough? Well, honestly, you could do paramedic like after you complete the, what was this? Okay, so we just finished level 8. There is a reward for finishing level 8. I'll talk about the rewards in the next video, but you got to keep going. Don't get distracted by that beeper thing. You need to complete level 12. And paramedic will end after level 12. There's no level 13, even if you wanted to continue optionally. So keep going until the game tells you, hey, you're done with paramedic, stop. Okay, when do the Triads get mad at you? So the Triads get mad at you as soon as you complete one of 2 particular story missions. So there's a phone mission here in Portland called Trial by Fire. And as soon as you complete that mission, the Triads will be mad at you for the rest of the game. They'll shoot at you whenever you're in Chinatown. The other mission that gets the Triads mad at you is the Tony mission called the Pickup. So it doesn't matter which of those 2 missions you do first, Trial by Fire or the Pickup. Whichever one of those you do first, the Triads are going to be mad at you for the rest of the game. And so I implore you to do paramedic on Portland Island, this first island, before you do either Trial by Fire or the Pickup. And then you definitely want to do paramedic before you do the before the Mafia is mad at you, and the Mafia will get mad at you when you do the Asuka mission called Sayonara Salvatore, which is the last mission on this island, and that's the one that unlocks the next island. So you can do it so here you can see I'm way out of control, and even though I've done quite well, I think through like 8.5 levels of paramedic, I could easily have rolled right there just because of I guess I wasn't paying attention. I clipped into something. Okay, so definitely do paramedic early and specifically before any of those 3 missions that I just mentioned. Okay, last 7th and final way to, look, I'm still smashing into stuff. So easy to just flip this thing. And you got to concentrate for the whole time too. And here I think I'm losing my concentration. Okay, last way to fail is time running out. And so here is like the biggest thing that I learned in failing this mission over and over and over again. Okay, so I mentioned to gently remove the passenger door and the rear doors before starting, but do like small taps and nuzzling into the building and not high-speed crashes into the building. And having those doors removed will hopefully reduce the chances that your time runs out, because it will take less time for you to pick everybody up. Okay, next one. All right, so on each level, every time you pick up a patient, you get a time bonus. And so I haven't been paying attention on this particular level. I don't even know how many folks are left. A couple. All right, so let's see what the time bonus is here. 26 seconds. So the time bonus has been 26 seconds on every patient from this particular level. I think we're still on level 9 now. I guess we're wrapping up level 9 here. So as soon as I picked up the first patient on level 9 and got a 26-second time bonus, that locked in the time bonus for the rest of level 9. Every other patient on level 9 is going to be a copy of the time bonus that you get from the first patient on level 9. So there's another 26 you can see there. The time bonus for the first person that you pick up is based on how far that person is from the hospital. So you put these two facts together, that it's the consistent time bonus based on whoever you pick up first. What level are we even on? I'm looking at like a little 2-inch by 2-inch version of this thing. I have no clue where we are in this process. Okay, so the first person you pick up determines the time bonus for everybody on that particular level. First person you pick up on each level determines the time bonus for everybody on that level. And the time bonus of the first person is based on how far they are from the hospital. So what you want to do, there's another 26-second bonus. What you want to do is make sure that on the first patient of each level, you pick up somebody that's far away from the hospital, because you want a big chunky time bonus for everybody on that level. And so oftentimes that means doing something counterintuitive, like passing some patients that are near to the hospital on the way to somebody far away. Don't worry, you'll come back and get them. But establish a big fat juicy time bonus by picking up a far away patient as the first patient on each level. And I've read some advice on the internet which is just straight up the opposite of that. They'd say, pick up patients that are close to the hospital real quick, so you get 3 time bonuses in rapid succession. It's like, oh yeah, I get that. But you might get 3 time bonuses that are, 17, 18 seconds because you pick up somebody first that's close. And I'm proposing picking up somebody far away. So it takes me longer to get to my first patient and therefore longer to get my first time bonus. But here you can see I got plenty of time. I'm just heading north. This is almost always what I do at the start of each level. Pick up the northernmost patient and then 2 other patients that are either close by or kind of convenient, not too far out of the way on my trip back to the hospital. So here we go. Northernmost patient here, looking for a big juicy time bonus, 30 seconds. Fine, I can work with that. Oftentimes, my time bonuses will be, like in the high 20s and 30 and low 30s. So here's another 30-second time bonus. But if you pick up somebody close to the hospital, you might get 19 seconds for that person and therefore 19 seconds for everybody else on that level. Or maybe you get 18 seconds. I've gotten some 15-second time bonuses. So here, look, I've got a minute and a half, and I have every confidence I'll have enough time with these 30-second time bonuses to pick up everybody on this level. So sometimes it can be kind of harrowing, like the passing close by patients just to get to that far away patient as the first one on the level. But as long as you have enough time to get there, it is worth it. Trust me, it's worth it. Okay, so as I mentioned, almost always go to the farthest north person first. And although that might not be true on like the first 3 or 4 levels, like in those cases, if there's let's say I'm on level 3 and I see 1 person to the north of the hospital and 2 people to the south of the hospital, in that case I would go south first, just so that I can get 2 quick time bonuses, back to back, even though the time bonuses might not be quite as big as going to pick up the faraway northernmost person. So only in the first few levels do I break my rule of thumb to go to the farthest north person first. But say once I'm on level 5 and up, I hardly even worry about what the map looks like. I just make a beeline to the farthest north person, pretty much always on the road that the hospital's on. Just take that as far north as I can, and then pick up the farthest north person, and then 2 other people that are conveniently located. Okay, so after you make your first drop off, you do get a time bonus. So I didn't point it out here on this particular level that we're on as I drive totally out of control. But we did get a 30-second time bonus the first time we dropped off patients on this level, but now we're not going to get that 30-second time bonus here. You'll only get the 30-second time bonus at the drop-off, the first time you drop off on each level. And it doesn't have to be a full ambulance drop-offs to get that 30-second time bonus as the first drop-off on a level. You could pick up 1 patient, and you'll get your bonus, let's say it's 30 seconds, and then you could just bring 1 patient back to the hospital and you'll get that 30-second bonus again, but then you won't get the drop-off bonus at any other point during that level. Okay, so after you make your first drop off, so you've got like the big healthy time bonus first, then you picked up two other people that were convenient, and then you dropped everybody off and you got another time bonus. If you have time concerns, like, oh my gosh, I don't have that much time to pick up my next patient, maybe at that point you can pick up people in any order that's convenient. And so maybe at that point you follow this advice that I said I've read before, where you pick up three people close to the hospital. Maybe you do it then, because then you'll get three big fat healthy time bonuses in rapid succession, and you don't have to go far from the hospital. So I'm not proposing that you go pick up only far away patients first, and then the next most far away patients after that, and then the next most far away patients, and then only pick up the close to the hospital folks at the end. You don't have to do that. You can do any order that makes sense after you picked up that first patient and established your big healthy time bonus. Okay. All right, I think we got that. Yeah, good. And then here, so the last piece of advice I have to give is that if a patient is in an awkward place, like inside the basketball court, it might take extra time. I mean, it does take extra time to get somebody who's in the basketball court. So if you see that somebody's in there, maybe save them for later in the level. I mean, you got to pick them up at some point, but save them for later in the level because all right, let's see. So I think we just finished 10, so now we're starting 11, and I make my beeline to the far north. Don't even care about what the map is. Mostly I'm driving here, occasionally looking at the map to kind of come up with a plan, but mostly driving. Just focus on driving, and as you get high enough in the levels, there will always be people way out here to the north. So just pick up somebody far away first, and then two other folks. I'm still crashing into stuff, but as I said, I'm not driving perfectly, but my ambulance is going to have plenty of health to survive all 12 levels, even with my imperfect driving. Okay, 26 seconds. That's sort of middle of the road for my general strategy here, but it works. Okay, so as I was saying, if somebody's in an awkward place, like the basketball court, maybe save them for later in the level. Like, don't pick them up on on the first trip, definitely, and maybe not even on the second trip, because it's like the earliest parts of the level where you have the least amount of time. So like I think I had like 25 seconds, and then I picked up a patient and picked up another patient, and now I've got like plenty of time. But but you might not have enough time to go into the basketball court in the early parts of a level, because you haven't built up like a big time bank there. There's the plus 26 seconds on the drop off, but we won't get that plus 26 on any other drop offs for this level 11. So if somebody's in an awkward place, maybe don't go get them in the early stages. Make sure you have enough time, and you typically have more time later on in each level than at the beginning. So I think that's about it, or at least those are all the kind of bullet points that I wrote down to get across the ideas of succeeding in vigilante. Sorry, not vigilante, paramedic. So again, I think we're on level 11, and it looks like maybe we have two folks on board now. I don't know if I picked up somebody in the passenger seat here, but again, pretty rare that I would use the whatchamacallit, the sirens and lights. I typically just do my own thing. Okay, so I think this is our second drop off, and we're going to notice that we don't get the plus 26 second bonus here for dropping folks off, only on the first drop off of each level. And as I said, so there you go, no time bonus here. So as I mentioned, mostly in the beginning of each level, I'm driving and focusing on driving and keeping my ambulance healthy, and not so much focusing on the map. Occasionally I will look at the map, but sometimes I get in trouble and just smack head on, trying to avoid these high-speed collisions, like I said. So here's I guess like a little shortcut that I'll take going up the grass here to the right. I always try to take this straight up and not kind of at an angle. Trying to keep as many of the four wheels of the ambulance on the ground as possible so that it doesn't roll. Okay, so what were we saying? Yeah, mostly driving, occasionally looking at the map. Like if I'm stopped because I'm waiting for the patient to make the short walk between where they're standing and my ambulance, that's when I oftentimes will kind of look at the map and try to get a sense of, like who can I group together? What three folks can I group together coming up? But it's really hard, and I think I'll complain vociferously about Paramedic in the next video. I'll tell you all the things that I think are wrong with Paramedic, but one of them is that it's hard to make a good plan because of the map. It's not clickable. It's just all you can see is the immediate vicinity around you, and it's tough to make a good plan when all you know about the patients is like dots on the edge of a circle. So anyway, it would be easier to do this for sure if we could click the map and then make a concrete plan in terms of grouping passengers together in groups of 3. But I found a way to make this work quite consistently for me. I think I got a little too close to that person. If I had hit him at that speed, side, kind of like hit him with the side of my ambulance, he would have died for sure. So that was more risky than I wanted it to be. Okay, so is this wrapping up 11 here, about to start the 12th and final level? Let's go. Of course, starting the final level with the wanted star. It's brilliant. I forgot I did that. I probably could have, like done a 3-point turn to avoid hitting that police officer. You saw me right there, just drive right past the closest patient. I don't want that person. I want somebody far away. And I was getting a little nervous because I'm in the 20s of seconds here. I have an accident here that cost me a few seconds to get back up to speed. I don't like picking somebody up with only, 15 seconds on the clock here. What's the bonus? 22. This was nerve-wracking as well. I wonder if those jerks who made this game, like the programmers, like changed it. Like I feel like my time bonuses on level 12 are always less than I expect them to be. And I wonder if they did that on purpose, just to make it so that more people, boom, more people run out of time by giving them the worst time bonuses on level 12. If that's true, that is evil, straight up evil. But I'm telling you, anecdotally, it seems like I sometimes feel more stressed on level 12 than on any other level. And I wonder if there's something in the code that reduces the time bonus. Maybe the time bonus is only 80% of what it is the rest of the levels. My goodness, I never considered that, but yeah, I have a lot of harrowing experiences with the time bonuses not quite being what I want them to be on level 12. Okay, so here I'm looking for 3 people that are close to the hospital and close to each other, so that we get bang, 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 3 22-second bonuses in a row, and I'm feeling much better now with 1:45 on the clock. And I guess I'm not looking at my engine too much, but if I looked at the engine, I don't think we'd see any black smoke, maybe a little bit of white smoke showing the kind of damage that we've taken on this ambulance, but I have not blown up my ambulance in many, many attempts now. I've gotten better at driving, but also, and using the handbrake turns, obviously, but also the idea of getting the big fat time bonuses with the first patient of each level has made it so that I don't feel like I need to rush as much in order to complete these different drop-offs and pickups on time. Like when I was just picking up the closest patient because that's what somebody said on the internet, I'd get a 19-second time bonus and was always feeling like I didn't have enough time, and so then I would rush and then I would make poor decisions and I would drive worse and I'd roll my ambulance and I'd damage my ambulance and all bad things. Lots of distance between me and that patient. Very good. And it looks like this is our penultimate drop-off. Is that right? I think we have 3 on board and only 3 left. So I've shared these words in some of my other videos, but anyway, ultimate means last, penultimate means second to last, and then there's 2 other silly words along the same vein. Third from last is anti-penultimate. So here's the anti-penultimate patient on board, and fourth from last is the pre-anti-penultimate. So there you go. Again, this is an educational channel. Okay, so looking for the penultimate patient to get on board. Let's see, I think there's somebody way to the south somewhere. But you can see that even I probably didn't plan these 12 pickups optimally, but I did the best that I could with the incomplete information from that tiny mini-map. Like this drive right here where I go way north of the hospital and pick somebody up and then go way south of the hospital and pick up the last person. That probably could have been avoided with better planning, but I didn't really. Oh, I guess there's where is this the last person? I can't tell. I think so. Oh, there, I put the sirens on there just because I'm excited, and now I don't care if the drivers go crazy because there's nobody else to squish. The ultimate patient is now on board, smack into the hospital, no problem. And just like that, paramedic done. So the adrenaline delivered is one of the rewards. I'll mention it a little bit in the next video too, but the main reward is infinite sprint. And you can see that paramedic has now been completed and it stopped. I cannot continue and do level 13 if I wanted to. But it says you'll never get tired when running. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I know this was a long video, but hopefully there were some good tips in there for you. And if you struggled with Paramedic, try it with these tips, and hopefully it goes better for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.